Welcome to What the Flicks discussion of Homeland, episode 6 of season 4, from A to B and back again. Alonso Duralde from whatever. Jenna Busch from Legion of Leia. It's good to
Ben's back.
And I'm back. It's good to be back. Been a long time. I can't believe I've missed 5 episodes of Homeland.
Sheesh.
But I am caught up, and I believe that in catching up, I have seen as good an episode of Homeland certainly as they have had since season 1.
Sure.
And in their top 5 Homeland episodes ever. I think they crushed it. Before we get into the discussion, let's take a little look.
And what does this mean Saul never got on the plane?
There's no safe way to get you out of here.
We are eyes on 3 vehicles.
There wouldn't be an operation if it weren't for me. So don't treat me like I'm the enemy.
Armed?
Marking target.
Take the shot, goddammit!
Where are your brains?
I want to see it again now.
I know. I loved this episode.
Yeah, it was great.
I absolutely loved it. I watched it this morning, and I had just woken up, and I was like, forget the coffee. This is so good. This is so good.
Yeah, so that trailer had pretty much everything in because, of course, let's start with the big thing. That was Haqqani's goodbye kiss to his loving nephew. You know, I love.
I know it was you, Fredo.
Right, and I love predicting stuff, and I love that's one reason big thing that I get out of these shows. But I don't think I did not see that coming until
death of Pi.
Until he said, right. I mean, he'd be like, I spent all that time in the open sea with a tiger, and now my uncle's going to kill me.
What are the odds?
What are the odds? And I had just been at the dog park that day, sort of celebrating how terrific an actor he is, how subtle, how he can sort of do so much with his eyes without speaking, and who gives a shit, he's gone.
Boy.
No, I know. I really didn't see it coming at all.
No.
I kind of assumed that maybe the whole thing with Carrie was going to go south. He was going to realize he was being taken advantage of, and then he was going to turn.
Who knew? I thought the whole thing was going to be which way is he turning? Who are his loyalties to? But no, that is not the big thing. He is dead, and they whitened his eyes. And, oh my God, it was horrible.
But I think what's really cool about how the situation that we wind up in, which is he's dead, Saul is there, Carrie says, like, take out Haqqani, even if it means killing Saul. And I know a lot of people are going to read this into, hormonal crazy Carrie is, she's caught in the moment and doesn't think about the big picture. I'm going to give her the credit that she would conceivably have them take the shot with Saul being there, even if they hadn't just killed the guy that she'd been sleeping with, because I kind of feel like she would almost think, well, that's what Saul would do.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I totally think that she would have done that anyway. I mean, she was obviously crazy and shaky, and I think she would have flipped out after, even if they did it.
Sure.
But I think Saul would have wanted it. And I think it's also going to cost, like we saw in the previews for next week, I think it's going to cost men to go in and get him out. And he may have already given secrets and might have been smart.
He may have relayed the information about the kids, about Ayan's connection to the CIA.
Yeah, he could have been tortured.
He could have already been tortured. Or we think maybe it was from Earth's most beautiful woman. I was about to say Pakistani woman, but just woman flat out. She's my favorite spy by far. One thing that I don't think they have done terribly well, like now the stakes are raised because people we care about were put in jeopardy, killed, somebody we came to really care about who was an interesting, well-rounded, compassionate character. He's dead. But like why we were vesting all this energy in killing Haqqani, I mean, part of this is my own politics coming into it, no question, but like, who gives a shit about this guy? Like, why, then he'll be replaced by somebody else, and it is one guy in the giant, inexplicable, unending war on terror.
Well, if you're going to have a kill list, you have to kill the people on the kill list.
Right, but I mean, but maybe that's the point. I mean, when Carrie is jeopardizing all this, and she's arguing with Quinn and with Farrah, and she says, or whoever she said to, I mean, he's at the top of our kill list, so yeah, we're going to kill him. You realize that's all this, like, he's at the top of the kill list. Like, who gives a shit? It's not Osama bin Laden. It isn't even close. But were going to this enormous amount of trouble and killing everybody at a wedding and being completely duped by the ISI into stumbling into a murder of 40 or 50 innocent people when the guy was never there. It was all their plan. I loved that part. I loved sort of the sophistication of that. But I was a little bothered by, I'm not going to be able to work up my intense caring about a Pakistani Taliban. But now it doesn't really matter because now it's not so much whether it's big, it's that we're fighting for people we care about, for characters we care about.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess we, especially with the illness, I think we were sort of giving this the idea of maybe it's sort of like Osama bin Laden, but they haven't really explained it. They haven't said exactly why he's so dangerous. So if that was the intention, I think they might have missed the mark there too. But I mean, I guess in the end, it's like killing somebody for morale. You know, if it destroys morale, although, you know, it's like cutting a head off a Hydra.
There you go.
So,
you know, it's funny because I've heard people accuse this show of being sort of, you know, anti-Muslim propaganda or pro-American propaganda. If anything, I think this show generally makes the CIA look not great.
Sure.
And not even that they have terrible, you know, intentions or that their methods are so awful, but just that this is such a no-win situation in so many ways, and that they'll more often take the more violent or more kind of blundering route when diplomacy or some other avenue might get us more than just knocking off the guy at the top of the kill list and then moving everybody up a notch on the kill list. You know?
Yeah, I think that's right. I don't think, I read a piece on that, a thoughtful piece from a Pakistani woman, I think after the first 2 episodes, about how it sort of played into, you know, it was the worst kind of anti-Muslim propaganda because it was under the guise of fairness, when in fact all it did. But I just firmly, now 6 episodes in, disagree with her. Like, or she was right then, she's wrong now.
Another moment I really liked on this episode was the argument between Carrie and Farrah, because they were both right.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't get that a lot in TV. Usually it's like one person's laying down the law and the other one's just blah, blah, blah. No, they both had a valid point to make about how they get their stuff done and who's contributing what to all this.
Yeah, and then I guess Farrah also, I mean, she obviously knew someone broke in the house. That I felt like it was kind of off.
I don't think she knew. I think it was bad.
Do you really think that she
spying
thought,
and
like,
I think a little bit of bad television.
Yeah, because I mean the stuff is peeled up, but yeah, you know what you do for a living? If something is slightly off, maybe we check it.
It's funny, I read the Wall Street Journal does a nice piece with the director of a spy museum and clearly an expert or a scholar at least in U.S. Intelligence. And he was talking about the things that were right and the things that were wrong in the episode. And one of the things that was wrong is that Farrah, despite earlier demonstrations that she's a competent spy, was unbelievably incompetent there. You go upstairs, and then you come downstairs and the bag you were working on is tipped over and the pictures have spilled out and you'd put the cardboard up on the door and it had been punched open. He pointed out that a CIA officer would be concerned about that if it happened in the valley. But if it happened in a safe house in Islamabad, maybe take note of the situation.
And also, as a woman who, you know, I've been home alone sometimes, and I did have someone try to break into my house once. So I'm really concerned about these things. So, like, if the door looks like it's slightly cracked, I don't know, I might check it. If the window is like, if I did not move the blinds and they are moved, gonna check it out. I'm just saying, like, she's nervous already. She knows that she's been yelled at about her job. That seemed lazy to me. It
did. It seemed lazy. But, you know, she is new, and the fact that she did track down Haqqani sort of bravely and courageously, you know, that was some good spying. The flip side is she failed to put the locator on the car, and she failed here. Although
but she's a damn good accountant.
Although I'm not sure there was, at that point, it didn't matter. That's the other thing. Like, the damage was done. Duck from Mad Men had stolen the information, and relaying at that point, I don't think really mattered. That plan was, I guess, Carrie, they couldn't warn him at that point. They could have, I guess, when she randomly at that point when he called, he could have said, "I think they're onto you. You gotta go." But Carrie wouldn't have said that anyway. She still would have, you know, she would have pressed on even if she'd had that information.
True.
So. You know, look, I'm talking about the 2 things that I thought were not great television. I'm perplexed by Duck. Like, he didn't want to do it. and then he did it, and I guess maybe he's into it.
Yeah,
Well,
he seems to be enjoying it now.
Yeah, he feels important.
Important.
Because this is a guy who I think feels really impotent, feels like his wife is successful and he's fucked up his life. And now somebody is listening to him. And it's that sort of Lee Harvey Oswald thing, you know, like he gets to feel important, he gets to feel like he's participating in something. So even though he knows it's bad, you know, that at least now that he's valuable to somebody.
And also bear in mind, I guess he'd already spied.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So he'd already been willing to make that decision. So now he was able to turn the tables on Earth's most beautiful spy.
You're married, you know.
And talented. She's a good character. Like, she's
I have to say, I mentioned this last week. I think she's fantastic, and she's
great.
really, really compelling on camera.
Yeah, she's compelling. That's really what I'm getting at, is that she's she's so competent. And but he loved that he
knowing
was
something she didn't.
Right, that he was like the situation where he was more impotence on his part. Not only was his wife's power and position rendering him meek and a little, but this woman was too, forcing him in. And now all of a sudden he's like, that's a safe house. Here are all these pictures. She's on these pills. What?
I know something you don't know.
Right. So that said, as I was watching it, my wife and I were yelling at the TV, why are you telling him with a safe house? Like, there's no, like they didn't even ask for this.
It's a bonus.
Like, I thought maybe it was good to get him out of this for good, but then maybe he doesn't want out. Maybe he likes this.
Yeah.
I cheated and looked at scenes from next week, and it looks like they are going the Dynasty route of let's make Carrie crazier by fucking with her meds.
Yeah, that, but Crazy Carrie's so much fun.
That's true. Get her to the green highlighter, goddammit.
There was a lot of talk in the recaps that I don't think was entirely fair, because some of it was just television drama. To go to your earlier point about Carrie having a kind of a breakdown there, I don't think that was necessarily breakdown. There was a moment where that was a decision. You know, Quinn would definitely not want to kill Saul, because that's who Quinn is, but Carrie might and Saul might, and it is a reasonable conversation to make. I think the people who didn't want to kill him were right, but it wasn't unreasonable, and it is ballsy. So I bought that. So I didn't necessarily, and yeah, I guess it wasn't a breakdown, reacting emotionally to the kid you slept with 8 hours earlier or whenever it was. This all happens very fast. Yes. Getting shot in the head while you watch it, and then having them aware of the drone and pulling Saul. Okay, that would make the most stable of us take a seat and be like, what the hell just happened? And then there was criticism that especially from the Wall Street Journal guy, saying that everybody was too shaken by what they'd seen to recognize which car Saul.
Right.
But I don't.
Who's got the lady?
Right, totally, yeah. But like, I don't know that they didn't know which car. That's just TV drama. We'll know next week.
Yeah, someone might say as we go in, that one.
But what bugged me about that scene though is, sure she was emotional, sure she was loud or whatever. She's also the fucking station chief.
Yeah.
And then everybody decides that her command to take the shot is now a suggestion.
Yeah.
You know, that was like, wait a minute. Like, she has already peed on Michael O'Keefe to remind him that she is in fact his boss.
Yep.
She's Quinn's boss, she's Farrah's boss, she's everybody's boss.
Yeah, and they can just say no.
Yeah, and they're just like, no, we're not going to do it.
Although she ended up agreeing with that. She had that moment.
Yes, but still, in the moment, what she says should go, you know?
Yeah, I mean, on one sense, she might be a good boss that she tolerates. I mean, it's done for dramatic
insubordination.
Right, but Quinn and Farrah have publicly, Farrah publicly, and she has no business doing it. She is at the low end. Quinn has sort of earned the right to, because she was like, please come with me, please come with me, please come. And he might be like, okay, I'm coming with you, but I'm going to tell you when you're, because it looks to me like you're fucking a child. Man, was that a good line.
Oh, so gross, by the way. Oh, no, go ahead.
No, but yeah, they're sitting there, right. I mean, the CIA is like the military, and you don't question the authority of your leader in front of others. But I did love that moment when the drone pilot, like on the off chance that he might get jittery, was like, I don't. His hands were up there, like, I don't want to hit this button. I don't want to hit this button. Yeah.
And the thing about them hearing, like, okay, so from what I understand, they weren't listening to the whole conversation because they turned it down, but they heard her say, I love you. Could she not have walked on the other side of the door? She was right by the door. She could have gone outside to say, I love you too.
No, I think they heard every part of her
Did they hear the whole thing? I couldn't quite tell because they turned it down.
No, I still think I think they turned it down so there wouldn't be feedback. So because at the beginning there was a and she wanted to.
Oh, okay. I couldn't tell if they could hear it or not, because if they couldn't, I would say go outside.
No, I think the great thing about that scene was every person in that room heard them say they love you to each other, and that's why Michael O'Keefe afterwards was like,
oh,
you know,
my God,
and then which also gave rise to his great conversation. He's a very interesting character.
Yeah,
like, we don't know where he's headed in any way. My hunch is to the good side in the end.
He's got the shifty eyes. I enjoy that.
But when he said, I think, what did he say, sir? Like, I think you did your job.
Yeah.
Mostly, that's what I think. You know? It was a really well written episode, and and I'm sorry, but that sting operation, I mean, when they're breaking in.
Oh, yeah, that was
great
very, I was fooled by that.
I absolutely did not see that coming at all.
That one, I mean, I saw that coming, but I saw it coming a minute before it happened.
Yeah.
Because when the guy was chasing him, and I'm first of all, it helps to watch it with someone because you're literally asking questions of each other. And my wife was like, is that guy one of them? You know? And I was like, I think he's part of that team that she asked Quinn to get and he wouldn't get, and the other guy got, and I think he's making it look like he's running after him. But then it all happened so quick. But it was incredibly well done, and it's such a great idea to scare that kid into running to his uncle.
Yeah.
And going back to the thing about the Michael O'Keefe line, I like that was in there because I think that it's very easy to think, because we haven't seen a lot of female spy characters like Carrie, that somehow if she has sex with someone to further the goals of the mission, that makes her a slut as opposed to James Bond doing it or whatever.
And so
I'm glad there was but at least there's an acknowledgement of you are doing this for a reason. Like there's a point to this. You know?
Yeah, I actually thought about that when I was watching it with my boyfriend this morning. He's like, it feels off, and I'm like, it feels off because you don't see that. But if a guy was doing that same thing, you might go, ew, that's kind of gross. But you wouldn't feel it the same way, and that's largely, I think, because we haven't seen it.
Right. I think it's true, but I think we're supposed to feel like it's off,
absolutely.
and they want us.
Absolutely.
They want these. They were hoping for these columns and these questions of, is Carrie evil?
Yeah.
And I think the answer is yes. By the way, I think she's competent.
She tried to drown a baby. Yes.
She thought about drowning the baby.
She's troubled.
She has no regard for and that's what, and you guys may have talked about that, because that gets back to her mission here is to kill as many people on the kill list as possible. Quinn's mission is to save Carrie. And that's the only thing. That's why he came back.
Is it to save Carrie, or is it that in the hopes that she'll notice he exists?
Same thing. I mean, save her for him. He doesn't want this Carrie. He wants the other Carrie. I think it's more than notice him, like, because she's doing things he finds vile, and he has made a mental break of this is not the proper way for a man to live his life. And he sees her sinking deeper into that hole.
He wants Brody Carrie.
He wants to save her.
He does her. He wants to save her. That's why he came back. He definitely doesn't care about, I don't care if I killed number 4 on the kill list. That's not, I'm not interested in that. I am interested in bringing you back to, at the bare minimum, what she was in the beginning in episode 1, the good side of the CIA.
Yeah,
sure.
And it's interesting, and I think I might have brought this up last week. I can't remember if I did, but she, in a way, sort of reminds me of a character from Firefly, from Serenity. The character who says, it's Serenity, who says, I'm a monster. I can't live in this new world I'm helping to create. And it'll be interesting to see if she can be brought back. I don't think that she can. I don't think you can come back and live in the world as a normal person when this has been your drive, when your entire purpose has been to save your country and do all of these terrible things. You can't live in a normal world after that.
So basically you're saying she's the man who shot Liberty Valance.
A little bit.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, man, it's good television. It's good stuff.
Oh,
really,
fantastic.
no, this show's back for sure.
Yeah. That's and what do you know? It's what many of us thought. Like, as good as Damian Lewis, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As good as he was, that character had probably run its course after season 1, or maybe they could have halfwayed season 2 to him, but we had to go. We had to break with that and start fresh.
And I think that baby is actually possibly his kid, because it's freaky. That's freaky how much it looks like him.
Except, so my theory is that she's going to, in every season now, have sex with someone and bear their child and get them killed.
I thought about that. What if she's pregnant from this guy?
So next season she's going to abandon a little Pakistani baby.
No, but then eventually they'll become a crack squadron of CIA orphans.
Right. The Carrie Matheson 5.
Oh my God. Is it wrong that I want that to happen?
It's so awesome.
Showtime, we're giving this to you for free.